Hi, 7th graders. Mr. Blumdahl here. Going to walk you through a few steps of your upcoming earthworm dissection. I'm sure you're all thrilled. First off, a rule. This is called the Rayanne Leaf rule. No screaming. None whatsoever. If you have to scream, you'll have to leave. Secondly, walk you through a few safety procedures here, introduce you to your tools. First thing that you'll need to pick up when you're starting your dissection is this dissection pan that you're looking at. It is not a pan of brownies, if some of you have asked about. There's nothing edible in here. You'll notice that I have my earthworm sitting right there. It is not squirming around. They are dead. That part's been taken care of for you. They are preserved, so there's no blood in them, just a preservative, a chemical, which is a little harsh, which is why you'll be wearing these fancy gloves like I have on, so you don't actually have to get it on your skin. Also, you want to make sure you keep that preservative out of your eyes, which is why you'll have these very stylish safety glasses that I'm going to put on right now. Next, your tools that you'll use. I've got them over here. On the left, you'll see a forceps. I know you might call it a tweezers, but you can use that to pick up the earthworm as needed. So you don't really have to touch it all that much, even though you have your gloves. Second from the left is your scalpel. It is absolutely razor sharp. Make sure that you're very careful with it. If the blade is dull, let me know and I can switch that out for you. Next is our dull probe. That's this one right here. We use that for just pointing things out. It's not going to cut any tissues. Just mainly a pointer. This one here is going to be your teasing needle, is what we call that. That one is sharp, so make sure you're careful with that. And that one we'll use for kind of pulling away tissues. No scissors needed on this one. That's a tool we use on some of the other dissections. You'll also see the pins here. You'll need to grab about 10 to 12 dissecting pins. And the easiest way to grab those is with those forceps. You can just reach in and pluck them out so they don't end up sticking to your fingers. Now, once you have your earthworm and you're ready to dissect, first thing we have to do is figure out what side we're looking at. One thing you might notice is this structure right here. It's called the clitellum, and that tells us the head end from the tail end. So the earthworm has a head end. We call that anterior. Also has a tail end at the bottom. That would be called posterior. And the mouth is going to be at the head end, of course. All the interesting stuff that we're going to focus on when we're dissecting is about what you see on the screen right now. If you continue down from there, it's all the same. You're certainly welcome to continue dissecting that part if you have time, but there isn't anything new and unique that you're going to see. Main structures are going to be right in here. Now, aside from having a head end and a tail end, your earthworm's also going to have I guess you could call it a belly and a back. The fancy science terms that we'll use are dorsal and ventral. Right now we're looking at the dorsal side, or its back side. I can tell you that because you can see kind of a dark blood vessel running through there. And those of you who have seen live earthworms before, you're probably familiar with that. And you can also notice the segments as we get closer in here. Important characteristic of the annelids, like we've talked about in class. If you flip this over, now we're looking at the belly end, or what we'd call the ventral side. If we could get this stubborn little critter to flip. There we go. And on this ventral side here, there's a couple specialized segments dealing with reproduction. And they're going to be a little bit hard to see, but right in there are going to be the male reproductive organs. And down here are going to be the female reproductive organs. Yes, they have both. Yes, I know that's weird. And that's called being a hermaphrodite, as we've talked about in class. So when they reproduce, both earthworms that are reproducing end up getting fertilized, which I know is a little strange and creepy, but that's the way it works. Now we're going to flip ours back over onto the ventral side down, dorsal side up, and I'm actually going to pin it down so this earthworm doesn't keep moving on me like it is right now, and I'll be back with you guys in just a moment.